Hi, I'm Lucy. I've been practicing homeopathy since 1992. However, I've researched other alternative therapies over the years, finding that nutrition can play a vital part in curing and preventing disease. Heart disease. It's the biggest killer in the West, or eventual killer, if you survive your heart attack or your stroke. Why? Well, in very simplistic terms, the heart needs clean, thin blood, like fine wine, to pump nutrients and oxygen through the 60,000 miles of arteries, arterioles, veins, venules and capillaries, some as tiny as 1/10 of a strand of hair. But when we eat inflammatory foods like sugar or wheat, or something our body types really don't recognise, like putting petrol into a diesel car, for example, it responds by making a sort of mucus-like stickiness in the blood, just like the response to catching a cold. Imagine it's turning that fine wine into tomato ketchup. The thickened blood stretches those delicate walls. The body's response is to deposit fatty, calcified tissue to prevent a hemorrhage. But as time goes on, the action of thick blood forcing through tiny channels results in the leakage or clots. This hardening of the arteries is already evident in the majority of teenagers, and at least 1 in 3 people over 60 suffer these undetected symptoms. They actually show up in those higher blood pressure readings that you assume is part of ageing. Actually, your heart is having to pump harder to get the thicker blood through tighter walls. Right, so what can be done? Prescribed medication like Lipitor and Plavix reduces blood thickness by 18%. However, nature gives us garlic, bilberry, mistletoe, cayenne and more, so you can imagine how delighted I was to discover a ready-made liquid with those and a lot more in Strauss's heart drops. People with heart problems have asked me what they should do. Here are my top suggestions. Firstly, review your diet. Find out what foods disagree, i.e. sugar, wheat, dairy and so on. A simple way of finding out is to take your pulse half an hour after a meal. If it's racing, then something disagrees. Next, address inflammation. My top 3 supplements would be curcumin, which is also known as turmeric, zinc and probiotics. Then I would recommend the heart drops to thin and cleanse the blood. And finally, I would also suggest serrapeptase and nattokinase, which also chip away at those hardened arteries.